Hi and welcome and happy Lunasa. It is noisy out here with the grasshoppers. Um, well, this year, August 1st falls very closely to the first weekend of August, making it very nice kind of time for reflection and acknowledgement of the season. Often, I don't know if you feel like, oh, July's here already, and then, oh, July's ended. For me, often this is a time where I've had some fun in the warmer weather, and then suddenly it feels like, am I looking forward to autumn already? The year is kind of coming to a close. So it might be a time where we feel like things are still moving very fast. We're still making a bunch of plans, but we might feel the year really passes very fast if we don't take time for reflection. So I love doing these readings on the cross quarter days in between the solstices and the equinox. So we'll do a pick a pile reading using the seasons of the witch, Lammas oracle. We'll do a spread about kind of your soul's vision and expansion for at this time of the year. Let's see. So I also think it might be helpful if I talk a little bit about what this holiday, Lunasa, and the season it means to me from my perspective. So since the word is an Irish word coming from the month of August and the season and related to the mythology, that has to do with connection to the land. And so I feel like a more traditional Irish celebration of this time has to do with gatherings and markets, communities coming together, and it's acknowledging, since some of the harvest is beginning, to kind of take a look and re-familiarize ourselves with what's growing and what's being harvested at what time, whether the crops from our region or what we like to eat and where that comes from. And also more of the outdoor activities, games, competitions. When I started doing archery, and I found that, oh, there's one specific event that happens around early August, and I feel like, oh, that really ties in well with the spirit of coming together for games or for hikes around this time. So being outdoors, hiking up on a hilltop, or playing games competitions in general. And then secondly, we have more of the broader pagan wheel of the year meanings to this time of year. Of course, the transition of the earth and the sun is sort of universal throughout the northern hemisphere. So it's about acknowledging the change of the daylight and nature's growth, how that's slowing down, some of that is speeding up. When there is harvest, that means there's also some kind of end to the plants that we're growing. So there's the community and relationships aspect of how we relate to the bigger world, the natural world, or the human societies. And there's also the internal reflection of where we are in this year. Have we done what we hope this year would be like, and what does this transition mean? There's some feelings of loss, some feelings of more accumulation to come. And coincidentally, today I found two writings or quotes that really help with kind of the more personal reflection side. If you feel like, oh, I haven't grown enough yet, I haven't achieved enough yet, or if there's any confidence or self-esteem issues for you, then this will be for you too. I'm going to read off from this calendar that's full of Louise Hay quotes, and one is from August. It says, "I am worthy of the best in life. I know it has nothing to do with being good. I'm already good enough and I deserve a wonderful life. This month I focus on releasing any pattern in my consciousness that is creating resistance to my good. I work on figuring out the old negative patterns that are trying to limit me, and I let them go with ease. Then I open my arms wide and declare with love that I deserve and accept all good. I feel the truth of this settle into my heart. And then also for this card deck, the authors made their own interpretation and theme for this holiday and this season relating to personal success and a personal light, because sunflower is sort of the visual and illustrative theme in this deck. And they want this deck to inspire you to stand big and tall and shine your light like the sunflower. It's usually the biggest flower in the garden, like a field of small suns standing proud. We want you to feel the same level of confidence and have the bravery to let yourself be seen. So maybe that resonates as we contemplate on this season. And now let's get to pick a pile. All right, here we have 3 piles for the message about what this Lunasa season means for you and where your soul wants to expand and where you are going. So pick from pile number 1 or pile number 2 or pile number 3. And here we go. Hello, pile 1. Let's see what you have for what this Lunasa season means for you and for your relationship with your community. So first, for yourself, we have fairies and earth magic. And then for your relationship with community, it's iceberg and submerged. So what the season means for you is a deeper connection with earth elements. So this might come through as you're noticing details or kind of a glimmer of magic that is somewhat new to you. And it could be things like learning new things about the produce you get or you eat, or the environment around you, and how a lot of things might be taken for granted as the way they are, but then you're starting to see just a shift of perspective on when something ordinary, there's a different way to feel the magic of it. And then so this might be a lot of subconscious or suppressed thoughts or feeling. For your relationships with community, you trust your intuition on what kind of community this is. It could be with a huge group of people and strangers that have something in common, or it could be really immediate, your family or established group of people. And watch out for buried feelings, whether that's yourself and how you present it, or in others. So there might be more than meets the eye, and that natural cycles aren't being able to develop and be released as it might need to be. And also be gentle, because those are things that might have a long history. So while you might want to look into it or name it and kind of let it be known, but also give patience if some things are not meant to be. But there's a difference in kind of simply ignoring things and also being aware about giving it time. Okay, that's what we have for now. Let's get your cards from the Llamas Oracle, and this is using the Hilltop spread that came with the deck. This is about how your soul wants to expand and what's in your life that you might want to be aware of. So first of all, about the expansion, we have sunburst, and this is all about shining the light in the most direct way to put it. So your soul wants you to be to be just naturally vibrant and not hiding yourself. Let's see, so what can you do to help with that kind of expansion? We have 39 terracotta pots. This is so this is like the container, a nice foundation. It's a very earthy one. You might need to recognize the base you have. So if you do put this into a metaphor as planting herbs and flowers, and you have a breathable pot, you have something that's, it doesn't matter whether how it looks. It's basically the similar kind of material. It has a certain property. It's basic and tried and true. So what you need to do is to find what has been working for you. Okay. And third, what are your biggest fears around that kind of expansion? And so we have welcoming the harvest. And so is this something that feels like a blockage to you, to welcome harvest? I feel like oftentimes in this year, August, beginning of the August, it feels kind of far from harvesting and reaping your achievements. That's for us people, that's usually what happens at the end of the year. We'll look back at the year, what we've accomplished, and like even this is when school year starts. It's kind of, in that sense, it's kind of new beginning. It's not even there's not even a designated time to review what has been celebrated and harvested. It's kind of funny that although we rely on fresh foods and crops and plants, and this begins the timing when our fresh fruits come into fruition. But there might be the rush to school year ends and play, and then vacation, and then school year starts, and we don't really have a ritual other than end of the year to look back. And is this related to what blocks you, your fear that it's hard to have that mindset to harvest and celebrate? But I've been working on this. I think it's worthwhile because at this time of year, it's easy to feel that, oh, half the year has gone, what I haven't achieved, there's no point, it's a lost cause anyway. Then I kind of just let busyness take me and just get through the year. But here's a reminder to say that look at if there's a fear around that. Okay, and then here we have rooster and hens, chicken and egg. That's how you see it. This is maybe an obstacle that you need to overcome in order to reach this expansion. I just love this. This is so pure, and this is just at the heart of so many spiritual and mystical messages, is for us to shine our light and encourage others to do so. And so with the obstacle, okay, so here this is about, there's kind of the cycle implied, giving birth and being born. There's also here we have the moth. So there is a little bit of welcoming the new, or embracing changes. So think about if there's any way that these two work for you. Embracing accomplishments or culmination of things, and embracing evolvement and change. They kind of are related. the obstacle to overcome might be that you have to break your routine a little bit, maybe get out of your comfort zone, trying something new, switching things up, or even travel. And is travel going to help you smell the roses? Maybe. And in relationship to what you have to do, the obstacles, so for example, if you need to go to somewhere new or get into new territory, maybe you need to go to unusual stores to find your terracotta pot. Maybe you need to discover a different dimension of yourself. And I almost feel like animal companions might give you the warm unconditional love, or even just kind of a faith and confidence to say, maybe the reason I'm afraid to grow a new part of myself is all the pressure and, how people look at me. And maybe I feel like animals' presence might help you see that those are all just added on constructs. What if that's not where I put my attention to, and I am free to explore? And let's see, what might be a small detail that you're maybe focusing too much of your energy on. And we have garland. So garland is about binding things together, interwoven. Let's see, magic in the weaving of unity. So maybe it could be the point of a garland is, maybe it's about making a shape. Maybe it's about the elements you're bringing together. And so what is your deepest, your ultimate purpose of doing this thing, this metaphorical garland of putting things together or hanging it up to celebrate something? Maybe in the process, it doesn't have to look perfect, or maybe you can't find the materials of what you really want. What if you can infuse your intention and the magic of what, like maybe purple flower is important and you just can't get any. What if you can use another color but have it dedicate the original intention to it, and in the end you're looking for the big picture intention that you're trying to deliver and present. Okay. Lastly, well, how can you be brave in supporting this expansion? And I feel like this can be a big question, to be brave and being ourselves. That can go in so many different directions. And for you, it's craftsmanship. It is kind of about embracing the challenge. Know that every challenge, if you think about a very true professional or master craftsman, they know so much already, of course, from their countless experience and trial and error. And also, how do they face more challenges? They might have seen a lot of things, but it would be unfair to say that never meet any new challenges. How do they face it? They already have some kind of confidence about problem solving, not about actual things, maybe not about this piece of thing I have to build out of someone's request, but they have sort of a confidence about problem solving. They have a trust in the process, where they trust that as long as they get started, or that they find opportunities to learn, they open their eyes and mind to inspirations. That's the process of becoming and staying a masterful craftsman. Empower yourself with the knowledge that each challenge brings you closer to mastery. So some things that feels like more of a change or challenge is to to find something new, to put yourself, to go after those new experiences. And then the more supportive messages are about giving yourself a nice foundation, and self-care is a part of it. Definitely at this time around, when we're overall talking about Lunasa and this time of year, do try and count your efforts as well as your results and progress. And don't remember, your soul lovingly is telling you that this is you, and you are stepping into this energy of sunburst, of shining unto others and inspiring others to do the same every day. Thank you for being here. That is your Lunasa season message, and I'll see you in another video. Okay, pile 2, let's see what we have for you. What does this Lunasa season mean for you in your relationship with community? Okay, first we have Island, Solitude. And then we have Eagle, Communion. So this is kind of interesting with Island, with this solitude message. It's like saying that you need to make sure to spend some time with yourself, and you know, all that kind of, whether it's spiritual practices or just taking a break, or you know, breaking away from all the information output, social media, news, all that, and finding enough time to recapture your own true voice, your own true thoughts, so that we're not just influenced by everything from the outside external world. But then with the Eagle message here that talks about communion, it's about reaching out with, you know, like here, this is depicting eagle and a human. So reaching, kind of receiving messages and the connection that comes from a different realm, different species. And so, of course, the eagle, it's a symbol for a very noble animal. It's powerful. It's it can soar through the sky, and it's like, oh my god, like a king of the birds. So here, you can say our focus is not on the person, but coming from the eagle's view. And if we make a spiritual interpretation there, what does the eagle do when it makes its interaction with all the different species? It will, you know, it hunts after its own food sources. It collaborates with its collaborators in the ecosystem, people being one of it. And how are we connected through those, through the larger ecosystem? It can be that relationship with community isn't very immediate, and you might wonder, what's our relationship? What does that group of people have to do with me? Is there something in common, or do we have shared interest, or do we have shared fears and threats, all that kind of thing? So a relationship might be kind of contemplating on what makes community, what are your shared environment, that kind of thing. Okay, and now let's see your cards from the Llama's deck. And here we're using a spread from the deck, and we're looking at how the soul wants to expand in the season, and how the details of that. Okay, so first, this way your soul wants to expand is, do we want to say it's like weeds? Neglecting to address the weeds within will prevent you from abundantly receiving. So this might be a call for cleaning house, and it wants to expand by separating what is ours versus not. So kind of what this season. Sorry if there's an interruption. What the season means for you. This is clearing the weeds. It's interesting. Well, I feel like sometimes weeds can be dependent on the context, right? And one could see it as just life growing as it needs to be. And when we clear out weeds that is actually unwanted, it creates such an inviting environment. And so solitude could be like that. When you clear away everything that's not yours, then you're presenting yourself as a much more genuine and direct presence to others. Okay, what can you do to help with that expansion? Fruit jam. So this feels like a bit of alchemy as you turn one thing into another. It's also about preservation, of course, when you have excess fruit, or you have long months to come and you start getting prepared. If you nurture it, it will flourish. The grass is greener where you water it. And so sometimes I have tried making our own jam. It does feel like before I start, it feels like, oh, it's such a process. I have to be really careful about sanitizing stuff, and some fruits, they really splatter and make a mess when you cook them. But what you can do here to help with this cleaning out, interesting, is documenting your mental growth kind of comes to mind. Because this is a kind of a process of transforming a little bit. And when you document, for example, with journaling, occasionally or regularly, whatever you do, it's seeing how you yourself evolve. And another way to see this is you might think of something that you do somewhat regularly, or that's not entirely to, and see how you change. Maybe you like to make one dish and see how you change or evolve, or even just deepen. You don't change, you just deepen your practice in certain ways throughout the times that you do that same activity. And then here we have your biggest fear and dealing with this kind of expansion. And this kind of feels like some cleansing, and cleansing allow you to expand in the stability and the confidence in who you are. And the fear being corn dollies. Let's see, corn dolly is kind of is a practice of preserving the spirit of corn after they're harvested, and in some way that means having a home for the spirits after the plant itself, it's dead. So this, in terms of fear, could be, do you fear that once you reach a milestone, you're going to lose a bit of yourself? And that, so, okay, I love the quartz quarter days because they really signify how we can have complex feelings. Things are going in one way in certain definition, like, oh, the earth is still heating up, it's still summer. But in another way, if we're harvesting, that means some plants have reached their peak, and it means that like summer is getting to the second half, the daylight is already getting shorter. And so so knowing that it's normal, and it's normal and it's safe to have conflicting feelings and having fears, even whether or not things are going well, it is an invitation to, like it says here, nourishing the relationships. Now, very few relationships are, actually, I don't know, but there are many meaningful relationships that can be a little more complex. You get along one way, but not so much the other. And you do want to recognize what's the essence of that relationship. If there's light, there's love, there's supportiveness, then that's what you want to nurture. And whatever that brings fear or negative effects, then it's either something you learn to decrease or remove from your life, and that might help show the direction of where things might go. Okay, and then this card, we have failed harvest. So this is the obstacle that you have to overcome. So earlier this year, I got some tree saplings and it's got so dry, I haven't watered them enough that several of them are just all yellow and crisp and probably dead, and I feel really guilty. I feel like such an imposter. I feel like, anyway, it's a failure. So obstacles you have to overcome is to face the failures, face the guilt, face the shame, face the, you know, the kind of external consequences is one thing, but often the things that stick with us most is the negative self-talk we give ourselves after something didn't work out or we did something that we regret. We can take a lot of inspiration and support, I feel like, from fiction, from movies, from stories, and see how the main character overcome their darkness. Those are often kind of, maybe it could be kind of simplified, but also in more positive ways that we can help ourselves pull ourselves out of the rut. And I'll leave that here about because there's lots of information and ways to work on that, how to overcome the regret and failures. Okay, and here we want to talk about if there's anything small that you're focusing too much on, and that is collecting seeds. And so we talk about how the season, once things are harvested, then in a way the plant has reached and passed its peak. It's a kind of death, but then that's also when seeds are collected to get ready for the next cycle. And this might imply that you're planning too far ahead. If you're over worrying about what's gonna happen next, maybe you do want to it's always good to have a long-term vision, but if it's out of proportion, then you're not being able to focus as much both in your near-term plan, next 3 months, or just being in the present. We know when we're kind of focused too much on the future, then we're not as present with people who need us, and then they feel hurt, then that might come back at us. Or if it's just task and progress, then you might not be harvesting as much joy or noticing your progress. So watch out for that. And then lastly, how do you be more courageous in supporting with this expansion? We have dried flowers. Okay. So once again, we're talking about the passing of a peak, a prime time. How can you be courageous? So if we talk about journaling or leaving some kind of record or legacy, then dried flowers is a method to capture the beauty or preserve beauty, preserve stuff, so that it's showing in another way. Look at that. So here we have 2 different ways of preserving items. Preserving life, preserving nature, and resources. This can also be talking about, because another thing we talk about, keeping the spirit of things, finding a home for the spirit, even though it looks like they're
you know, like a popular band that's not popular anymore, but what is the spirit? Your favorite song from a 90s band could still have certain meanings or motivation, inspiration for you. And the way you can be courageous is to maybe spread that message of what is not seen, what is not mainstream, has its power. It might be serving people in the darkest part of their minds. It might be something that's an inconvenient topic, but people do need the nourishment that comes in unconventional or more subtle methods. Okay. So yeah, looking back, your soul needs to clear the weeds so that you can fully be present yourself and also fully receive the world around you that is responding to who you are. You receive the world that is not just responding to all these weeds that isn't you. And yeah, here we have the action cards of preserving, making memory. And those are things that can be for yourself or things that you can share out, put into the world for others to benefit from that energy and that mindset too. So don't be afraid of death. Don't be afraid of like you did one thing successfully and now you just can't repeat your success anymore. Don't let it into your don't let that drag you down. There's always a new cycle being ready to receive their nutritious soil. They're not even going to sprout yet, but you can get ready for that next cycle by planting the fertile grounds, and that includes digesting and processing all our dark feelings of failure and what has not worked, what has feel like death to us. And so that's a very autumnal, well, it's a very seasonal message, I feel like, and I hope that helps you, and I'll see you in another video. Hello, third pile. Let's see what you have. Let's see what this Lunasa season means for you and for your relationship with community. Okay, for you, we have forest, breath. For your relationship with community, you have love and compassion. Okay, and we can see very vividly the two colors of the heart chakra. So this season might be, it might not be exactly healing, but you have a lot of loving and heart chakra energy. And for you, that might be in sort of in the format of rest and awareness and mindfulness. When you are in a forest, why do we love it? The green is easy and healthy to the eyes, and the air is nice. So in a lot of mindfulness and meditation practice, there's a focus on breathing. There's just sensing how your breathing quality is, and you can know a lot about yourself just by noticing how your breathing is. And from that, I've noticed is by just paying attention to that, you're kind of paying attention to your whole being, and from that comes more self-love. So weirdly enough, I didn't assume that connection, but I feel like by paying more attention to breathing comes more love. Just with awareness, then there is compassion. And that's the thing, that it can stay still, and it's kind of self-sustenance. It's sustainable. So I don't know if a certain type of community comes to mind. This could be with a broad group of people. This could be with your immediate established community. That's all the people you know, or might be people far away. But I would say with forest, you already kind of aware of the network you are in. You are aware of a relationship with trees, with nature. You're aware of the relationships of trees and other species of trees and other things like fungus or the soil, other other parts of the ecosystem. So I feel like for you, this season has a lot going on hand in hand with how you're treating yourself and how you are kind of passing it forward, and also creating it for yourself, and then receiving the love and compassion. That's a very beautiful, expansive message. Now let's get your spread from the Llamas Oracle deck. This is a spread from the deck itself. It's taking a look at how your soul wants to expand this season, and what are the details of it and what you can do. So first of all, how does your soul want to expand? So dried flowers, it is giving new life to something dead, but it's also foreseeing the end of something. And because if you want to dry flowers, you kind of want to start doing this before they all turn yellow and curled down. So there is a bit of acknowledging the natural cycle of how things will end. So the expansion of soul wants is to not bother, but already in acceptance and prepared for, and in loving acceptance for when things end. And that way you have a different dimension to work with, to preserve the beauty here, or to have your heart tenderly taken care of. You know what you might need when there is grief, when there is endings. So that's a very strong heart resilience and wisdom to have. And what can you do to support that expansion, that wisdom of looking at grief and endings? Okay, so what you can do is to expect growth and expansion as your hard work has paid off. It's time to celebrate. So what you can do is smelling all the roses. You're harvesting what you have. And so I feel like these birds here are kind of, to me, they kind of imply the weight of the cycle in a way. So you're celebrating regardless of how you know things will continue to grow and evolve. But it doesn't matter. It's hard to think about winter, but there's some things that are weighs on our mind when we know inevitably things will change. Our success today may not be there tomorrow. But how much time have you taken to recognize what has worked, what has been working, what you've done, what you're happy about? What you can do is to look at what makes you happy and proud. And then here we have sunburst. This is about your biggest fear. Biggest fear, is it to be in the spotlight? Is it to be your true self? Is it to shine brightly and really stand out for one thing, or for your personality, your work, your quirks, your work? What kind of unpleasant feeling is this rising in you when you think about being in the spotlight? And this might be why it is so important, and why it might be hard to welcome your harvest, to accept compliments, understand what might be true about them, and most importantly, see yourself. You know, some beauty and some wisdom might not be very apparent in ways. I do feel like sometimes I think of dry flowers as, oh, doesn't that just happen naturally? Like is that actually a big skill? But yes, you can do it in better ways and not as desirable ways. Yeah, so facing your fear about what you might be, maybe taking for granted about the great parts of yourself. And then what are the obstacles to overcome? Citrine, confidence. All right, if this is your fear, then it's only natural that this is an obstacle to overcome. I do love citrine. It's yellow. It can be a mix of colors and radiance. It's because as a crystal, as in the yellow shade, I feel like it reflects the multiple dimensions of that abundance, prosperity, luck, money and happiness, and you are being guided to reach for the light within yourself. And where does light come from? If you don't believe it for yourself, what are some people and examples you can look to, and how do they don't put people on a pedestal. Think about their stories from their own perspective, where everyone goes through ups and downs, good times, bad times, self-doubt, all that. And maybe they're simply building blocks to a more joyous and kind of unapologetic attitude. And it doesn't always have to be bold. You can think of one example. Sometimes we have a small victory, and we worry about rubbing it in people's faces when we talk about it. But what if what you can focus on sharing is your joy and your hope and maybe your dedication, and how you want to share that. There are many building blocks to loving yourself and being true to who you are. Look at that, the sun and moon, we have that right next to each other. So they work in hand. Both of these cycles can be fully explored and experienced to have a healthy balance of your kind of self-expression and self-identity. Okay, now let's look at if there's any small details that you're focusing too much on. Let's see, it's hilltops, hold light to your vision as you're being called to climb new heights. So once again, we have the birds. It's interesting how I'm drawn to the birds as sort of a visual guide that's a little distracting. And that reminds me, let's look at the sunflowers. It is accompanying you on your journey. And I feel like this sort of unnatural formation is showing a focus on the difficulty or the unpredictability of where you're going. Does it make sense to not pay too much attention to it? If it is distracting you and making you feel like you're going one way and then turning back, if you sometimes get in the cycle of, I can do this, and then something happens, it can be a tiny thing, and you're like, I don't have the energy, I don't have what it takes, maybe not, I don't need to, it's too late, all that kind of things. So do not focus on the distracting birds, is what I'm getting here. You want to focus on the beautiful light of sun and moon and the cycles that they have. Okay, and lastly, how can you be braver in bringing forth that expansion? Garden tools. You must summon the courage and strength to acquire the resources you need. So the courage, we're talking here might be tools and resources. So there's a certain extent you can do with how you treat yourself, your self-talk, and we've already touched on several techniques of how to do that. We talked a bit about mindfulness. We've talked about celebrating and kind of writing down your accomplishments, your milestones, and what makes you happy. And so, and here, of course, it's also like maybe learning from people and reaching out. And I just saw a video today about what makes reaching out for help a beautiful thing for community, because when you ask for help, then you're signaling to others that they can ask you for help. And often we don't do that because we don't want to trouble others. We don't want to be seen as needy or not independent. And ultimately, if that contributes to a closed-off society, is that what we really want? There's a Chinese saying in Taiwan that relationships come from troubling each other, and I've had a hard time with that. It never really occurred to me as, you know, something of importance. But then, having gone through certain things in life and really isolating myself, then I became kind of jealous of the people who ask for help from each other, and they seem to have tight bonds, or they seem to know each other well. So yeah, so be out there, be present. Don't be shy of what you can give or what you might need to ask. Sometimes just the asking or the talking gets something going. Sometimes that's all we need to have a joyful interaction with another fellow human. Okay. So this is for your Lunasa season. A very loving, you might be a very empathetic, compassionate, loving soul who is here to help everyone recognize their ability to pass it around. And so there might be deeper work for you, since being vulnerable and also being able to notice love and compassion. For some people, it needs practice to unlearn some of the muscles that we've learned. And for some people, that's kind of come naturally. And the deeper work for you might be to see beyond the sometimes the sadness and heartache that could come with this kind of sharing of love. This is deepening your ability in terms of being vulnerable and being long-lasting. Like, it brings to me the idea of gods and goddesses, or how some people turn immortal, is because they have that deep ability to see past the beyond the obvious beginning and end, and all, that's all there is. But you might be able to see the spiral where nothing really ends and everything fits into the next cycle that can have a deeper, more impactful, deeper impact on the way things are. So this is a lovely message, and makes me want to thank you for being who you are, doing what you do, and I hope you get the most out of the season. I hope you enjoy what a beautiful soul you are, and also take that into where you are, the people you're with. And thank you for being here. And that's all I've got. I'll see you in another video.